Necron Data Cards, are they worth it? Let's do a review.
Necrons!
Nick speaking, and welcome to this video. Right, today we're going to have a look at the Necron Data Cards. Are they worth it? Before that though, if you would like to keep up to date with the wonders of Warhammer 40k, not miss a Necron upload, then please give me a sub and hit the bell button so you don't miss a video. Okay, so let's go table down, have a closer look at these cards and find out if they're worth it. Okay, so here is the box of Necron Data Cards, a very big box in actual fact. So in here you have 36 tactical objectives, 30 stratagems and 6 powers of the Catan. I have to say this is probably one of the best box designs that GW have done so far for the cards. Really liking the design, and the actual cards themselves seem to be very high quality, nice and thick, and some very nice artwork on the front. What I'm going to do is I'm going to separate these into their different piles and then we'll have a closer look at them. Okay, so here are the 3 sets of cards. We've got tactical objectives, stratagems and powers of the Catan. And as you can see, they've got some very nice artwork on the back of the cards. However, I think I personally would like to have seen writing of exactly what they are actually saying, tactical objective on the top. This one isn't so bad because of the shape. A circle is quite different from these two. However, these two are quite the same, and if your cards are all jumbled up in the box when you get them out, it can be quite difficult to find the cards that you want. So I think writing of each type of card would have been better. However, the picture does look very nice. Okay, so let's have a look at the individual cards. Okay, so first of all we're going to look at the powers of the Catan. Now bearing in mind that these powers are all listed in your codex, if you wanted to have them out of the codex in card form, you could just photocopy the codex and cut them out, and then you have almost what you've got here. Now in terms of the actual cards themselves, I'm quite liking these. They have quite a nice plain background. One of my complaints with some of the previous cards was that there was a big picture on the card and the writing was incredibly small. Now the writing is still quite small, and even though they've taken the picture out of the cards, they haven't made the writing bigger, which I think is a shame. Okay, most people could probably read these, but if you're an old man like myself and you need glasses and you're in a dim room, that can be quite difficult to read that sized font. So that's the powers of the Catan. Let's have a look at the tactical objectives. Okay, so the tactical objective cards. We've got 30 cards which are from the main rulebook, and then you have 6 unique Necron cards. Now if you're playing a Maelstrom mission and you've got a Necron Battleforged army, you do have to replace the tactical objective cards from the main rulebook with the Necron ones. So that's numbers 11 to 16. You do have to replace them. Now of course these unique tactical objective cards are listed in your codex, and as I said, these are in the main rulebook. So once again, arguably you could photocopy the cards and have them in card format, or you could just roll a dice to find out which tactical cards you're going to generate. Now personally, I haven't tried to roll dice to generate my cards, but I have seen other people do it, and it seems to be a bit of a pain in the backside. I do like to have tactical objective cards personally, but we'll talk more about that in a minute. Now I want to have a look at the stratagems. Okay, so these are the stratagem cards, and just like the tactical objective cards, which I failed to mention, they do have this Necron picture on the card, which I have to say does look really, really nice. However, personally, I would rather have bigger font that's easier to read than a cool Necron picture. Just my personal preference. Now regarding the stratagems, these stratagems are all listed in your Necron Codex. So once again, if you wanted to have those stratagems in card form, you could potentially just photocopy what's in your Codex, or indeed you could just have the Codex next to you for reference, just like all of the other cards. So at £10 for this box of cards, are they worth it? Okay, so first of all I want to analyse each individual set of cards. So the tactical objectives. As I said, you can roll for these in the book if you wish. You could potentially photocopy them, there's a lot there. Now if you had the standard main rulebook tactical objective cards, you do have the option of just changing the card out when you draw it, if you remember, but that is just something else to remember. So personally I would rather have the actual Necron cards. They look cooler as well, which has to be a plus point. So from this point of view, the tactical objectives, I would put a tick there to say yes, they're worth having. Powers of the Catan are next. Only 6 cards. But are they worth having these 6 cards? Like I said, you could photocopy what's in the rulebook, or you could just make notes. However, they are fairly useful. When you roll the dice or you pick which power of the Catan cards you're going to have, or the powers you're going to have, you can then select the cards which you're going to be playing with for that particular game. It does make it quite easy to remember and visually see what the rules are without having to flick through your book. So I think that the powers of the Catan cards are actually pretty useful, probably not as useful as these, but quite useful. Okay, so lastly we've got the stratagems, and for me this is the big one. This is the most useful thing to have. Now the reason why I think they're the most useful stratagems to have is I think it makes your list building a lot easier. Let me explain. So there's a lot of different cards here. There's 30 cards altogether. 3 of them are from the main rulebook and 27 of them are unique Necron cards. Now when you're building your list, you want to build your list around specific stratagems. Probably 2 or 3 stratagems, and having these cards handy can really help narrow down the confusion of which stratagems you are supposed to be using for your army. And I think that's the power of these cards. My advice would be to concentrate on around 6 stratagems, potential stratagems that you could use for any particular list build that you have, and probably just disregard the rest, forget the rest. Okay, they may be useful in some circumstances in some games, but you don't want to get sidetracked by having to look for different stratagems all the time. You want to be focused on which stratagems you are going to be using in game and try to make the best use of them. And I think that these cards are very useful for that. Yes, you could just write them down on your army list. Yes, you could photocopy them and have them separately. But these are Necron cards. They are cool. And to be fair, for £10 for all of these cards here, I actually think that they're really good value for money, and personally I would definitely recommend that you buy the Necron Data Cards, especially if you play Maelstrom missions. Very handy. Of course, if you play the powers of the Catan, not necessarily the most essential thing, but stratagems, personally I think that's the most powerful thing about these data cards, making list building and making sure that you remember to use your stratagems in game. These are very useful. Okay, so that is my review. Let me know what you think about these cards in the comments box below. Beam me up.